I finally bought Monster Hunter Wilds and I can actually run it. Well, sort of. Performance issues seem to be a trend nowadays, so it made me think of some other stuff that we've had over the years. There's probably a bunch more, but I just wanted to go over some of them that stood out to me. Let's make a game that already exists, said no one ever. Yet somehow there are more unwanted games out there now than there are unwanted children. From whole remakes to unnecessary graphics updates, the time spent on these could have probably been better spent on new titles or sequels. But nah, let's just make our game look a teeny tiny little bit better and then sell it again for 70 bucks. Who in their right mind thought it was a good idea to give Horizon Forbidden West a graphics upgrade? That game already looked good. What else is out there? The Last of Us 1 got a remake but already had a remaster. Days Gone already looked amazing and yet it got a remaster that is pretty much indistinguishable from the original, while all it needed was a sequel. Until Dawn, yeah, I actually didn't play that one, but people said it was unnecessary and more buggy than a beehive. Let's see, how can we make this even more annoying? Oh yeah, destroy their performance. The Witcher 3 got a graphics update that barely increased anything visually, except for the fact that you now need a PC from NASA for decent frame rate. Apparently the performance of the Oblivion remake on consoles got worse the longer you played that game. The Crysis remaster is known to be worse than the original due to poor performance and lack of multiplayer, essentially making this game incomplete and therefore also kind of redundant. Now you might be thinking, they just wanted some quick cash and this was the fastest thing that they could come up with. Wrong, my dude, wrong. They spent several years on The Witcher 3's graphics update, around 2 years on Until Dawn's remake, and 4 years on The Last of Us remake. Now, this wouldn't be too bad if people wouldn't be waiting for Bloodborne to be remade or remastered, or Titanfall 3 to be announced. But nope, then you get games that nobody wants, and everybody just goes... What do you think makes more money? The $10 skin in a free game or a full price game? If you answered full price game, then you underestimate the horniness of weeps and the power of mom's credit card. I already know there's gonna be this smart ass watching right now that answered full price game with $10 skins. You should apply for a job at EA. There's a special place after this life for people like you. I was making this video and I thought that I should mention Fortnite since it's, well, the biggest free to play game out there. When I thought, when did that release again? And it was 2017. Holy cat balls. That is 9 years ago. It's kind of crazy to see that game still going strong nearly a decade later. Fortnite was arguably still the most influential game of the last 10 years simply because of its popularity and success. But it makes sense, companies nowadays make more money with microtransactions than they do selling actual games. So much in fact that other games adopted this format years after launch. Games like Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch launched as normal games that are now only available as free-to-play titles. I think we're going to see this happen more often in the future as it's an easy way to squeeze a bit more money out of a dead game. We saw a big increase in open world games, especially after Breath of the Wild came out, and it's almost like other studios were sitting there just spamming their copy and paste button like crazy. And even though a good open world game can be amazing, not all titles need this, especially if it gets implemented poorly. I'm looking at you, Assassin's Creed. Your worlds have got a whole load of nothing, which is probably also the reason that you can buy your way through. And even though this trend has kind of died off, a recent example would be Code Vein 2. That open world seemed to be there just for the sake of it. Some other games did it better, like Metal Gear. I still don't know if I should call God of War an open world game, but that's certainly different. I think we all felt this period where open world was super popular, even to the point where it became annoying sometimes. Another thing Zelda changed was the intro to their game. It went from this to good luck, have fun, without much hand-holding at all, which leads me right into the next one. There are so many of these now: Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Nioh, Code Vein, Lords of the Fallen, Mortal Shell, Lies of P, Black Myth Wukong, Berserker of Kazan, and then I'm probably still forgetting some because there's just so many. Oh, and the main one of course, Elden Ring. Sure, the Dark Souls games were big too, but ultimately I feel like Elden Ring really made other developers realize how much people like this format of smacking their head into a boss until you recognize its patterns. Or as other people like to phrase it, get good. Elden Ring has made this such a big category of games now that personally, as someone who isn't a diehard fan of these titles, it's hard to get excited for newer games because half of them are this genre. But the impact is massive and the success undeniable. I do think that it's a good thing that these games got popular simply due to the fact that newer games got way too handholdy, and this shows them that it isn't always a good thing. You can actually take it too far, gosh, who would have thought? I'm just gonna go straight into the title that this one's all about. The Witcher 3. I remember playing this title and there was this dwarf who told me to go kick rocks somewhere else. I guess I was in his territory. So cocky as I was, I told him to go belittle someone else. Get it? Belittle? Okay. And boy did I get my ass whooped. And then later I saw one of the trailers for one of the newer Assassin's Creed games and I thought, wow, they took some inspiration from The Witcher. That's cool. We have dialogue options. Nice. Little did I know this game was the most bloat-filled piece of crap that I would see in a while. The 8 dialogue choices that actually mattered were hidden behind the 500 that do f*** all. I'll give them props for making the places look accurate based on real life data though, that's pretty neat. But the best game that I can think of right now when it comes to player choices and detailed quests would probably be Baldur's Gate 3. Those choices actually seem to have consequences. Don't you hate it when you get choices where you can choose from 2 answers but they both are essentially the same? One answer is no and the other is hell no. I seriously don't understand what the devs are thinking when they do this stuff, but oh well. Oh, hero shooters. Hero shooters everywhere. Overwatch started the hero shooter period, which turned other titles to poo-poo as companies got obsessed with stuffing abilities in places they shouldn't be, like Battlefield 2042.
Hard work pays off sometimes.
People got fed up with this so much that games like Concord failed immediately upon launch, although there were other factors involved. Surprisingly, Overwatch 2, even though heavily criticized for copying the first game and just slapping the number 2 on it while under-delivering on their promises, was actually very profitable, making over $100 million within its first 3 months. What the f? Can we just stop sponsoring these crappy decisions? They ended up changing the name to Overwatch, essentially admitting that it's pretty much just a re-release. Could have put this one in the remake and remaster part of this video probably. I think it's pretty safe to say though that this genre has been milked dry a little bit. I mean, look at Concord and Highguard. You basically have no choice but to come out with something super competitive and polished, otherwise it is guaranteed to fail. But what if you can't think of a good idea for a game? A wise man once said, better well stolen than poorly invented, but not in the case of games like Farlight 84. I guess this trend was inevitable at some point as it's hard to come up with something new, but straight copies will surely fail. Some of these are so obvious that they kinda deserve to fail. Others at least try to innovate upon other franchises that drop the ball. I'm looking at you, Pokemon. Palworld may be somewhat of a copy, but at least they actually try to deliver on what the Pokemon franchise never did. Some other titles, however, how do I phrase this? They're just straight up copies. Games like Farlight 84 and Mind's Eye take a bit too much inspiration from other games, let's say. I made a whole video on Farlight 84 if you're curious. But now we have games like Dragon Quest Builders. I mean, sure, it's a Pokemon game. Heck, the reviews are looking really good, but nonetheless, it's a pretty obvious Dragon Quest Builders copy. But to be honest, this trend isn't always a bad thing. I mean, look at Marvel Rivals. That game took more than a little inspiration from Overwatch, but it's still a solid game. Sometimes copied games do things better than the original, but it's interesting to see how often it happens now, and so blatant. I am genuinely surprised that some of these titles didn't get sued out of existence. But there is one thing worse than a copied game. Did you optimize the game, Bob? Hell nah, this ain't 2010. We got upscaling and frame gen now. Oh, okay. If you don't mind, I'ma get back to work. Oh boy, this might be the biggest trend on here and probably also the most frustrating. Every new game that is announced and looks really good makes me wonder if I can even run it. It's like looking at a really nice cake and you're all drooling, ready to gobble it up, but the second you take a bite, it tastes like it's made out of plastic. Now every cake you'll see in the future will give you trust issues. Optimization has disappeared from the face of the earth, as a lot of games don't even work as intended half the time. Combine this with all the high prices for PC components like RAM and GPUs, and it's probably the biggest issue in gaming that we've had in a while. The reason this seems to become more common is because developers use upscaling and frame gen as an excuse to not optimize their games. Oh, and they use Unreal Engine 5. The only thing unreal about that engine, if you ask me, is the insanely poor performing games that come out of it. There are so many games now that perform bad, it's actually kinda nuts. Dragon's Dogma 2, Borderlands 4, Monster Hunter Wilds, Cyberpunk, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you name it. And what is the result of all these shitty, overpriced, non-functioning titles? It may not be as a direct result, sure, but indie games are booming, as they are getting better and better over time. Expedition 33 is showing this better than any other, winning 11 different categories at the Game Awards. although a bit excessive if you ask me.
And the Game Award goes to Claire Obscure. Claire Obscure. Claire Obscure. Claire Obscure. Claire Obscure.
Expedition 33.
It's a clear message to all developers that we just want good polished games without crazy microtransactions or season pass nonsense. Up your prices all you want if you don't deliver matching value, I won't buy it. Indie games are simply delivering more value for your money. To me, the main one that comes to mind is Hades. This game at this point is like the mascot of the Steam Deck. Very polished, and it's part of the roguelike genre, which could have been its own separate topic on this list to be fair. But the only thing that I think of when I see this game is the big dump that they took on all the AAA titles. I'm curious to hear which one of these trends you find the most annoying. If I forgot any, let me know down in the comments. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, and thanks for watching.